Good evening. I am Serena. Welcome to Inside News for Monday, October 6th, 2025. We look beyond the headlines to bring you the stories shaping our world, especially those that don't receive the attention they demand. Tonight, we cover a finalized digital market for Africa, a new political era in Japan, and a major trade dispute in North America. Later, our new segment, Beyond the Blindspot, where we uncover the critical stories systematically ignored by mainstream media. We begin in Africa. The African Union has finalized a framework for a continent-wide digital single market, set for a phased rollout starting January 1st, 2026. The agreement aims to harmonize e-commerce and digital payment regulations to boost intra-African trade by an estimated $70 billion within 3 years. While the deal is a landmark for economic integration, significant challenges remain in bridging the digital infrastructure gap between member nations. In Angola, final municipal election results confirm a major political shift for opposition parties have won control of key urban centers like Lobito and Huambo for the first time. The ruling MPLA party acknowledged the results, which analysts see as a public demand for greater local accountability and a test of the nation's democratic maturity. And in West Africa, Ghana's Glean Circuit initiative is celebrating a successful first year. The public-private partnership has processed over 2,000 metric tons of electronic waste through 5 new recycling hubs in Accra since October 2024. Nigeria and Côte d'Ivoire are now studying the program as a model for managing the region's growing e-waste crisis. Turning to Europe, France is in a state of political turmoil. Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu and his entire government resigned today, after just 27 days in office, making him the shortest-serving prime minister in French history. The move follows weeks of massive union-led protests against budget cuts and compounds the crisis facing President Emmanuel Macron in a hung parliament. In the Czech Republic, the populist ANO party, led by billionaire Andrej Babiš, won Saturday's parliamentary elections with nearly 35% of the vote. However, the party fell short of an outright majority and must now form a coalition with smaller, right-leaning Eurosceptic parties to govern. Meanwhile, Russia launched one of its largest attacks on Ukraine in months, firing over 50 missiles and nearly 500 drones across 9 regions. The assault killed at least 5 people and damaged critical energy infrastructure in the western Lviv region, prompting neighboring Poland to deploy fighter jets to secure its airspace. In the Americas, the United States government shutdown has entered its 6th day with no resolution in sight. The impasse between Republicans and Democrats centers on funding for Affordable Care Act subsidies affecting over 22 million Americans. With the White House threatening mass layoffs of federal workers, the Senate returned today with no clear path forward. In a significant move for green energy, Bolivia has finalized an agreement with a German-Canadian consortium to develop its vast lithium reserves. The deal, signed on October 3rd, prioritizes environmentally sustainable extraction technology and mandates that a portion of battery production occur within Bolivia, aiming to shift the country from a raw material exporter to a key player in the green energy value chain. And in a simmering trade dispute, Canada has formally invoked a settlement panel under the USMCA trade agreement. The action challenges new U.S. tariffs on certain recycled materials, which Canadian officials argue are protectionist and violate the pact, escalating tensions in North American trade relations. In Asia, Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party has elected hardline conservative Sanai Takaichi as its new leader, positioning her to become the nation's first female prime minister on October 15th. A protege of the late Shinzo Abe, Takaichi's victory signals a commitment to reviving Abenomics, a policy of aggressive monetary and fiscal stimulus. Her election has already caused market volatility, with stocks rising while the yen weakened. Nearby, Japan and South Korea have announced a landmark $5 billion joint investment fund to develop next-generation semiconductor technology. The move is designed to secure their shared dominance in the global market and signals a significant strengthening of economic ties between the historically strained neighbors. And in the Pacific, Papua New Guinea has secured a historic $2 billion financing package from the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank to overhaul its national energy grid. The 10-year project is the largest infrastructure investment in the nation's history, focusing on expanding electricity access to rural areas and integrating renewable energy sources. And now, we turn to our segment, Beyond the Blindspot. Many critical global events unfold with almost no media coverage. They affect millions, reshape ecosystems, and expose systemic failures, yet they remain invisible. Our mission here is to find them, analyze them, and present them, because a partial picture of the world is a dangerous one. Our research today has identified several urgent, underreported crises. First, the near-total collapse of the Tonle Sap fishery in Cambodia. A new report from the Mekong River Commission, released last week, indicates the lake's fish catch, which provides 60% of Cambodia's protein, is down 80% from its 2010 peak. The cause is a combination of upstream damming, extreme drought linked to climate change, and illegal industrial-scale fishing. This is a slow-motion famine affecting millions. Yet it receives minimal international attention because it lacks a single dramatic event. Second, a silent epidemic of chromium poisoning in Kanpur, India. A study published in the Lancet Planetary Health last month confirms that over 400 leather tanneries are discharging carcinogenic chromium-6 into the Ganges River watershed. Data from local health clinics shows a 300% rise in birth defects and cancer rates in riverside villages over the last decade. This story is ignored because it involves powerful industrial lobbies and a marginalized, impoverished population without a political voice. Third, the escalating Tuna Wars in the Western Pacific. Heavily subsidized distant water fishing feeds, primarily from China and the EU, are aggressively overfishing in the exclusive economic zones of small island nations like Kiribati and Tuvalu. Analysis from the research group Global Fishing Watch shows illegal dark vessel activity has tripled in the region since 2023. These nations are losing their primary source of revenue and food security. But the story is too complex for headline news, involving obscure maritime laws and powerful state actors. Finally, the deliberate destruction of pre-Islamic heritage sites in Yemen. Amid the chaos of the civil war, the Yemeni Antiquities Authority documented the systematic looting and bulldozing of 22 Himyarite and Sabaean archaeological sites in the past year alone. This is not collateral damage. It is a targeted campaign of cultural erasure funded by the international black market for antiquities. It remains unreported because the war itself is undercovered, and the destruction of culture is seen as secondary to human casualties. These are not isolated incidents. They are patterns of neglect, where complex, long-term crises are bypassed in favor of simple, immediate news cycles. Ignoring these realities does not make them disappear. It ensures we are unprepared for their consequences. The foundation of a functioning society is access to accurate and comprehensive information. When journalism fails to cover the slow-moving disasters, the systemic exploitation, and the inconvenient truths, it fails in its primary duty. Our commitment is to close that gap, because knowing what is happening is the first step toward accountability. That's all for this edition of Inside News. With good journeys to all, good night.